On media buying right now, like there's three things that always has to happen, and we deployed what we call the WWW framework. What had happened? Because what had happened, what are you doing? And because what you're doing today, what do you expect to happen next? The least important piece of media buying today is in-account adjustments being done. When you are intentional about what you're communicating against, a couple things start to happen. I don't think I've talked about this ever. This is important.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Agency Confidential, where we uncover the stories behind the business of running an agency. Today, I'm really excited to have a conversation with Nick Shackelford. If you're anywhere in the e-commerce space, you've probably seen this guy everywhere. He's been a force in the space for years. On this podcast, we get into why being everywhere has been critical for his agency growth, how he built his agencies, how he partners with people to build his businesses, how he's changed how he builds his agency and how he's integrating AI, and where he thinks the agency space is going next. Big thanks to Nick for coming on the show. It was a really fun conversation. Nick, welcome to the pod. Thanks so much for joining us today. You've been in the space for a while. You've done a lot of stuff. You've got a couple of agencies, but you're also involved in a bunch of other businesses. Maybe we can just start just to get context. Can you give a lay of the land of the businesses that you are involved with?
Yeah, that's a kind way of saying that I'm a dinosaur in this space. So,
Not the
so it's
slightest.
which is weird to even say. Like I'm 35 and this is my 11th year of being in digital. Like I'd say digital because it always started with agency. Like we didn't know. Oh, actually, it's funny. It was brand with fidget spinner to agency, and then multi agency, and then now it's kind of like brand and agency. Which I do think it's the future. Like guys and girls that have a skill set of like revenue generation, acquisition, or revenue preservation, retention, lifecycle, subscription. That's like a very real skill. Like, and if you are at our size, where like I think, thankfully, I have a great team, great leadership team. Like, I don't have to be in accounts, or I don't have to like touch or talk about anything. But if I want to, I can get in and be like seeing all the like this bird's eye view of what's happening. So that's like my weird intro. But the overall is like we have a full service agency that's structured. We have a pure tech slash creative agency, like Constant. So it's a briefing tool, but then there's humans on the back end. But we also you can use templates because I think that's the way the creative is going to go. And then you have Lucid, which is more of a niche style agency that supports health and wellness, telemedicine, or specifically like cannabis. So it's like three agencies across the board with incredible operators. And the last, I would say, 2.5 years has been very brand focused. So it's like I hope it's the natural progression that people have, but it is all digital, all paid media, all subscription, all retention, all the time.
And you've got Breeze and you've got Geek Out events, right? Is that right?
We do, and we have Commerce Roundtable, which is another
Yes.
batch of it. So, okay, so let me when we say it like this, I have to be very clear on how I explain this stuff because people like the most logical way for you to reply to me is like seems like a lot. Why are you doing it? It's like why would you do this? Like what? Like one is more than enough. Any one of these things is a full time experience thing, and I'm most effective at 1 to 2. I'm really good. Like 0 to 1 takes me a long time to launch something. So it's really difficult for me to get something up and off the ground. I'm just more of like, once the team I've put in place can run it, like I know how to work with them, operate them, and lead them accordingly. So I sit and play in the same role across every team, depending on the season that business is going to be in. And so for Geek Out and for Commerce Roundtable, an event business, although it's very difficult, it hits in basically 3 month sprints. You have the date it's going to be live, you have speakers, you have sponsors, you have like fill the room. And like that doesn't really change, and the team is the same thing. My AV is the same, my planner is the same, my day of is the same, my ads are the same. So that's pretty pocketed. On the agency, depending on the service that you're selling, like you and we're far enough out of it where like the team is built out infrastructure. Like you're just basically firefighting or people management at this level. So I will say it's although it is diverse in what it is that we're serving, there's routines and systems that are working across each of these that isn't needed for me to be in every single day, thankfully.
Nice. We'll come back to that because I do want to understand kind of how you play in all of these businesses because I talk to a lot of agency leaders and a lot of them have these they're either the agency's only their only thing, or they've got all these little businesses. I mean, we have the same thing at Pilot House. We've got a media company, we've got events, we've got a product company, we've got all these different things. And it's always, you see so many people trying to figure out what their level of involvement should be. But anyway, we'll come back to that. I want to go back to the beginning. Structured was the first agency, is that right?
It was, yeah.
How did Structured come about?
It was a full circle, beautiful moment because we started Fidgetly with Jake, who's my current partner on Structured and Constant. And I was actually a senior strategist at Common Thread Collective, one of our good friends, Taylor Holiday. And I'm Orange County based, he's Orange County based. And I worked for Taylor for about 2 years. And we got to his place, and he has this program was called TYMD, like Tell Me Your Dream. And one of my dreams was like, I want to be an agency owner. And obviously beforehand, I was like, hey, like, just make me a partner. It's super simple. You can make me an agency owner. I was like, dude, we can handle this today, baby. We can do this right now. And he goes, like, look, dude, at this time, the many years ago, like this point's eight and a half years ago. Like I left Common Thread. Yeah, almost 9 years ago, I left Common Thread. And I basically said, hey, I want to do this, and I can't do this unless I have your blessing because I'm directly going to compete with you. And like, I did a great job for them. We made a lot of money. Their team was incredible. Like the who's who of people and brands were at that firm. And when I told him, like, he was obviously not stoked, and he was like, hey, I love you and I support you as a man to man. And if this is so heavy on your heart, go do it. And so I announced that I will be leaving and I will be starting Structured at the time, which at the time was just Structured Social. And it was my consultancy, taking people that were not fit for the agency at the time. And so we jumped out, and I gave Jake a call, and I go, hey, buddy, I don't have a job, but like, we can do this. Let's go. And I remember I called him, and I called another friend, Colin McGuire, and Colin was like, you sure you want to do this? I was like, I'm not, but I know how to run ads. I knew how to media buy. So like, let's go. And that was it.
And was Jake in from day one?
Day one. Jake didn't know media buying. So he was having to run side clients that were way too small for Common. Like back in, I was 8 years ago, this is when you were able to sell like retainer plus performance deals, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you're able to, people still do it today, but it's not as easy to sell like ROAS equals
Totally.
X, pay me more. But back then it was easy. But if you have a small account, like, it doesn't make sense for a big agency. So Jake would basically take a couple of the clients that didn't fit Common. And so as soon as I told him, I was like, hey, like, let's go. And this is, and you probably remember this, like, remember Facebook ad buyers and ad leaks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you obviously know a good friend of our mutual friend, Eric Dick. He and I met way back when, it was about sharing content. So deal flow would come from Facebook groups. Execution would be me, an incredible Filipino named Ariel, and Jake. And that was the initial birth.
That was the team. I love it.
You knew this, like, early on, you didn't have to do a lot of new things. Like, you could just basically like stay in the ad accounts and media buy.
Yeah, it was a different game. I mean, that's where we got our start too. We were affiliates. I mean, we had our own little media buying crew, and we just arbitrage all day on meta ads, and it was wild. I mean, lots of ups and downs. That's why we ended up starting an agency, because we were just like, wow, this business is only as worth as much as our last campaign. But man, it was a fun time in the late teens of the 2000s. It was an amazing time of meta for sure. So what did you, it was the three of you guys being the practitioners effectively. What was the moment when it went from, three people media buying effectively to a company? Like, what did those early days look like? What did that transition look like?
It took us a full year, because we were pretty intentional with like the speed at which we were wanting to grow. And the benefit that I had here is I've been sharing about my journey, and I've been talking about what I do for quite some time. And so we had interest already. And so as soon as I was able to be like on my own, and I felt respectful enough to not be grabbing or taking, like, I the biggest requirement was like, if I'm leaving Common Thread, I need it to be quiet enough to not ruffle existing clientele and team there, because it's like out of respect. And you can't poach like for at least a year. Like, you can't touch a brand, you can't touch a person, like any of this stuff. So I wanted to honor that and not make sure anything happened. And so we were basically collecting brands here and there. And I would say it took us about a full year for Jake, John, Ariel, Jake, another Jake. So we had a Jake Little, John Hagen,
Jake 2.0.
Jake, and Ariel. Yeah, he was literally a 2.0. And these guys are like, they were just a bunch of dudes, and they were Missouri based, and we flew them out to LA. We had a home in LA, and we kind of like Hacker House did it. And I moved into more like client facing. It was like you media bot and you talk to client. And then it turned into like, actually, we have more clients than we actually have. And I just need to be talking to client. You guys need to do the media buying. So it went like Nick went front of the house, team went back of the house because I felt most comfortable explaining to people what was being done. So it took us a full year to start building infrastructure, full year to start building process, and full year to know like who we could actually be good at winning for. And we lived in this drop shipping general store niche.
Yeah. What did the first foray into structure and process look like? A lot of, I mean, God, we've been through it. I feel like we're always trying to like reinvent our structure and process at Pilot House. It's always a bit of a, you get to another level, you're like, fuck, I got to redo it again. How did you guys, how was that foray from just like hacker house mentality to this thing actually running like a real agency?
Maybe it's not contrarian, but we're going through this. Literally, we're all going through this right now with like the adoption of how much AI needs to be in workflow. So I think I can apply what was then and put it now just because that is 8 years ago, but I know what I'm feeling like right now with the team. Like I really do. And it's like I think it's probably a similar process we went to back there. Structured, and I'm just going to stick on the media buying side because obviously we have a bunch of other services that we sell. But on media buying right now, like there's three things that always has to happen, and we deployed what we call the WWW framework, and it was familiar with the internet, and so WWW framework stands like what had happened, because what had happened, what are you doing, and because what you're doing today, what do you expect to happen next? So these are like the three questions that you have to answer, and like those are like overarching, so that you can make sure that the client is informed and the brand is progressing. And so people that have done this really well are guys like yourself who have like clear, here's how we're testing, here's what the performance looks like. Is that a dashboard? Is that just a daily report? Is that an automated feed that comes into the account? Is that the weekly call? Like whatever that is at the time, like it didn't need to be anything other than like, hey, I'm going to talk to you every week and I'm going to give you updates on a daily basis. Oh, by the way, send me assets to upload into the account. So it was way more free flowing in terms of like structure, but it was very clear on like, this is when we give you your update. This is what the etiquette of the Slack communication, like it's basically, we call it Slack-etiquette. And this is how and when your performance is going to be updated. But now what I'm dealing with and thinking about is when I get the team, what's the least important piece of media buying in this space? I would say the least important piece of media buying today is in-account adjustments being done. Back then it was like big, like I did these bid adjustments, I did these things. Now it's like, what learnings and creative did you launch? And what is the learnings and feedback that we needed at the client to tell them to give us more of the things we need, or the creative team to give us more what they need? So I think what we're learning now with how many different dashboards we need from a performance standpoint, how many different less campaign structure and more like offer iteration and pages we need to develop. So the communication right now has to be more strategic forward, whereas previously, dude, you just report on what you did, and they were like, "That's more than enough," because I, the brand owner, can't do what you're doing.
Well, and they were paying for the work getting done, and it's changing because the work getting done is getting done by AI all of a sudden. So there's a lot more, and not all of it, but a ton of it, right? And it's a completely different world moving into the responsibility of, I think, all agencies is moving up to bigger and bigger picture and like the overall success of the brand versus just run this meta account. Um,
So develop this with me. I've been sitting this. I'm glad I was able to see you on this today because this is something that's very in my head right now. You get a report from your team, like your client, your brand, your team sends you a report. You know to some degree that there is a 5, 10, 15, 50% creation done with AI. What is your feeling back to this? What is your response back to this?
I want people to use AI, but I actually I wrote a newsletter for agency or a group about this. AI is an input, not an output. It's a thinking tool, it's a creation tool, but at this point, I want to see people using that as the base layer and adjusting and adapting and digging through it and challenging it and having it challenge them as a way to get a better output. The thing that we had to talk with everyone internally a couple weeks ago about this because there's a certain subset of people that will ask a question, get this big ass report, and just blindly send it over, and they're like, "Here you go," and they don't know what the fuck it says. They don't know what's in there. I think it's a big risk for agencies. We're getting this with, we get a ton of this with clients coming in on a few different levels. We'll get an RFP request, and it's the RFP is obviously just slop. They haven't thought it through. And at the same time, we get certain clients that, they're trying to do their best, but they'll Claude or ChatGPT is giving just direct feedback on the ads that, for approval. And it's not well thought out stuff. It's just like it's nitpicking whatever. And so I think as society, we got to watch that we don't use it, at least at this stage. Like it's amazing. I use it constantly. Our teams use it constantly. If you're not using it, I think you're behind. But it's the input to get to the answer. It's not the answer itself. Is the way I see it right now. What are your thoughts?
When I'm receiving a document that has been AI'd, my visceral reaction is, why am I spending human time reading machine output? And it kills me. It kills me, dude, because
Yeah.
I don't want my reaction to be this way, and I want my team to continue to adopt it as they are, as you're explaining about your team. Because the what I will appreciate is, like, people can be long in what they say and mean very little. And if you have the way that you use your tool, your machine, whatever it is, like, it has to be able to, like, pull the synthesis out of it and be very direct, like in bullet points, and then give contextual information needed if the person wants it. And what I hate is, like, sometimes the output will be so fleshed out that you're like, what did I just read? I just wasted time. This was no value of me. And that's the part that I'm, like, trying to get over is, I think it's good at fleshing out ideas and concepts unnecessarily too long. And you have to work through that with your AI bot. Like, you have to work through, like, how you want the reaction to be. And so when clients send it over, I expect it to be slop. I expect us to, like, take it and then put it into, how do you say this, like a synthesis to make it shorter so that I can pull the specificness out of it. But yeah, I'm of the camp that says, like, we in our industry have to adopt and utilize this. The value is not necessarily in the work that we're doing, but it's in the direction that we're providing.
100%. Couldn't agree more. I think that I don't want to say it's a bullshit machine, because it's not a bullshit machine, but I've got a little I built a little media buying Slack bot. His name's Gary. I made Gary and Blanche. Blanche, the creative strategist, and Gary is the media buyer. And I did this for D2C, our media company, just as like a test bed. I just want to, like, see how far I can push it, what it will do, what it won't do. And it's funny. I keep, Gary will go and give me just the most verbose answer known to man. And it's just like, Gary, what fucking ads worked? And it's like, it's just Gary, fix it. And there's a natural inclination of the AIs just to do that. And I think that's the thing. If people use it for that, they use it as the output, and it gives you this giant verbose thing, and it gives you kind of the bullshit, and they haven't thought about it. It drives me crazy as well. It's wild. And it is that is the death of thinking. And I think that's where we have a problem. I think there's a lot of value. Again, like, one of my favorite ways to use AI is I go for runs all the time, and I'll just sit there and I'll put it on chat mode, and I'll talk through an issue while I'm running. I look like a fucking psychopath running through a park just talking, but it works. It works well. And it's not that it's the only thinking partner. It's this way to I solve things by talking them through with people. So for me, it's a great way. But it's not like, hey, just make this document, send it over to Eric, and call it a day. Because that's where you just get into, garbage. Um, on that, what do you see as like, you guys are obviously implementing AI in a bunch of different ways, I'm sure. What does that look like internally? How are you doing this in a way? How do you structure the team, and how do you structure your implementation of AI so that it's not chaos? That's something we've been struggling with.
So we're more advanced on the email side than we would be on the paid media side. I would say we're a really strong retention team with legacy and respect in the paid media side. But I would say you would know us more for retention, lifecycle, and pages than you would know us for paid media, which is a little bit different because it was the inverse once upon a time. The workflows for AI for retention are more, in my say, like, robust than the workflows or execution would be on the paid media side. You can get a good enough reporting analysis and creative analysis that does take human synthesis on the paid media side specifically. So in terms of, we do pull into Claude on the MCP for ad analysis. And so we do have like an ad analyzer. The difficult thing for me, and I have a call with the HQ team because we're fully remote. Everybody has their own machine set up in a very unique way. And I am not in the luxury of buying and paying for the largest Claude instance for everybody to use for them to do it their own way. And so
Totally.
what we're struggling with right now, candidly, is it's not a per project per client situation because you're having to like attach NCP and upload NCP to each other. And there's a lot of like data segregation that's needed to make sure that it's not pulling in past instances or past memory that is going to misinform output. So on paid media, I don't think I can speak directly to us, but on the retention side specifically, and actually I'll future cast in what we're going to do for paid media. I think that'd be a little bit more helpful for people. The briefing, auditing, and intake of brands getting up and running has never been easier to get quicker at this because you're able to pull the website, pull reviews, pull best performing from like a foreplay API pull, or even Atra if you had to, and you're able to like pull in what's working without even needing to get into the account beforehand. So you can come prepared to what happens. And then it'll also give you like roadmap of like easiest wins, fastest wins, first 30 days, second 30 days, third 30 days. And so we're able to come to these calls before really getting access to accounts to be like, hey, like, let's see if we can validate this through a deeper analysis. But like, here's how we think we would go about it. I think that's huge, huge value add. There's no reason why that can't happen. That same methodology instead of future casting is what we're doing on the retention side specifically, because as long as we can get Claude integrated and as long as we can have our automated reports running from a flow, campaign, performance, offer, that is way more structured because then I'm going to be able to pull a full audit, full areas of operations, and full focal point on pop up, campaign flow, or even just like segmentation.
Yeah.
That from an intake, dude, is so valuable. That used to take a lot of human
Nuts.
capital to do audits.
Yeah. Yeah. We found the same thing.
The last thing I'll say, like, I do think there's a little bit more chaos. I will say my leaders in each department are tasked and owned with this, and I don't have a good balance, man. Like, I feel like I'm grinding them into the ground to learn and help them build, but then they're also still like, dude, I still got to do all the other QC.
Yeah. Well, are you, so like to go a little bit deeper on that, are you, one thing we've looked at is we've been calling it an AI czar, like just hiring someone whose job it is to sit at the top of the org, and they're not in charge, but their job is to like manage AI implementation. So it's basically centralized versus decentralized. That's what we're trying to figure out. And because and then there's heavily decentralized, which is down to the individual person. There's kind of semi-decentralized, which is the head of the department, or there's like fully centralized, which is someone at the top who it's not that innovation comes from them. It's that someone has to wrangle where are these things hosted, how do we make sure that this isn't repeating something that someone else built over here? That's what we're trying to figure out right now.
That's why we're talking with the headquarters team. So this guy named Jacob on Twitter. Everybody is running their own machine. Yes, we own the machine, but everyone's running their own structure and communication and plugging or unplugging NCPs or API connectors. And it's sloppy. It is sloppy. So there is a shared agent infrastructure layer, what they call it, like the harness. Like the harness is not built correctly for us just yet. And so everybody is essentially sharing what they're doing on a department basis. And so in what I'm hoping that we can get done, and obviously like I don't know when this will come live, and I'm hopeful of what we're going through right now from a potential merger, acquisition, transaction situation. Whoever we're in conversations with has this infrastructure and layer. And so like we offer a very nice bolt-on to what they already are doing. And so from an owner standpoint, like, do I invest heavily into an infrastructure build out when I don't know if it's going to be a worthwhile endeavor because someone's going to come in, strip it, redo it, or add into it? And I'm a little bit holding the investment, but I'm not throttling the innovation from whoever wants to get it. And so it's so
sense,
hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to go deep on it like that because I'm like, I see it. I'm literally on the sideline watching it and having conversations with the guys like yourself that I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. I think that's so nice that you built that because it needs to be done. Like if you are in this game right now, I'll try to change this. We haven't had pushback or fear of a human capital, human employees saying like, I am fearful of losing my job because of this. We have not seen that. We have not felt that. People aren't talking about that. If anything, people are like, cool, I can have my life back.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a similar when I remember when ChatGPT came out, I was definitely maybe not too early, but excited and excitable. So I put a big post in Slack, and I'm like, "Hey, whoever has the best idea on how we can implement this, blah blah blah." And it was just people were like, at the time, Claude Code didn't exist, and people were coming with these crazy ideas that weren't even remotely implementable. And I was like, okay, shit, I'm coming too early to this. And at that time, we definitely had people being like, whoa, 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 we got to slow our roll on this AI stuff. What's happening? What is it? Now, once people get their hands on it, which everyone does to some extent, whether it is even just, asking questions to ChatGPT, we've seen it. Couldn't agree more with that. It's a reversal in people's opinion of it because it is like, oh shit, I don't have to do this menial, like, copy paste this 47 times to do whatever, or, I've got a thinking partner on everything. It's a really cool and scary time, I would say, for people, but it's interesting for sure.
We have a new department that's like servicing subscription, and like they have a different style of importance of things that needed to be done there, and a lot of different reporting here. And the Skio, Recharge, Stay, Loop, all of them like have different ways of reporting different things. And so I'm having to like synthesize, because what it does is like it's good at flagging anomalies or things that go wrong that a human might not catch. And then it's like, cool, you need to go look over there. And then the human gets to go look at it. So instead of you like trying to wrangle a giant beast, you're like, oh, actually, if I just like deal with this one thing over here, I'll get the real next action needed and then move forward. I love that. That is what I love. And it's allowed you to kind of go from like, dude, I don't know what's going wrong, but I have some inclination of like these things are broken, so I'm just going to focus on this area without having to go like dig through so much.
Yeah, yeah, it's really taken out that. I got to imagine like being a lawyer must be a totally different game right now if you're willing to use it. Just, trying to find, a grad student sitting there just working for 14 hours trying to find one case study. Switching gears a little bit, one of the things I've always admired about you is that you're just out there. You're fucking out there everywhere. Nick, you've just been like, your face is pervasive. You're like the Coca-Cola of e-commerce, You're just like on everything everywhere. Well, how was that intentional? Was that intentional to grow the agency? And like, what does that look
100%.
like?
100%. This has been intentional for the very, very beginning, dude. I don't think I've talked about this ever. So this is important to position correctly. Um, my best relationships and friends and partnerships, because I've never not been in a partnership, have come from when they're understanding of like where Nick is at and what he's up to and what he's doing. If someone doesn't have to guess what your intentions are or where your focus is at, and they can understand it from a degree, then there's like no getting, it breaks a barrier down of like getting to know someone when they like have this, what they call parasocial relationship, where it's like, oh, I already know what this dude is about. Oh, like I already kind of get what he's kind of involved in. And so like I've been trying to push parasocial relations without knowing that that word existed until people started talking about it a couple years back. Because I feel like our job as men, and yes, women should do this too, but like I'm a man, so I'm gonna speak for myself. I believe our job as men in this new world that is very, very digital focused, that is very much like whatever it is that you can make of it, is to continue to share the messages that are important for you, to find the people that are aligned with what you're doing, and to deter those that are not aligned with what you're trying to do. So from the very, very beginning, I've always been about business, and I've always been about like personal advancement. I've always been about like, and now is family inclusion. But with my wife, 17 years. Like we had our wedding anniversary for 3, but we've been together since before high school or during high school. And so like I'm in a partnership, I'm in that shit for as long as I possibly can. It doesn't make sense until it doesn't make sense. But when you are intentional about what you're communicating against, a couple things start to happen. People find your message and they're fully aligned with it, and they want to work with you or be a part of that process or journey. Deal flow, as well as like partnerships, find you much easier because there's so much to be searched about. And a benefit that I'm starting to realize that I did not take into consideration until this AI world, there is 10 years of videos and 10 years of written posts and 10 years of genuine content that like, and all these LLMs, Nick structured constant geek out commerce is showing up everywhere. And this is like lands that I've been laying for many, many, many years. And so I didn't know it was coming. I didn't plan for this, but the importance of being everywhere. And now what's different now, which I'll talk about, because like, has it been intentional to be as many places as possible? Yes. What is the downside of this? When Breeze started, Aaron and I agreed that like we'll be as public as humanly possible. We were sharing our numbers every single month, up to date on the rocket ship. It was important to us. We got feedback that's saying like it doesn't make sense for us to continue to share the depth in which we were sharing it because there's no benefit to other than like competitors wanting to like see if it's worth jumping into space. We're like, sure, okay, it's always a fear. What ended up hurting me is there was a personal investment that I had to make to continue to float the company last July. And so at that time, I had to make a agreement to run into promoted posts with SaaS companies. And this has never been shared before. This is the first time I get to talk about this. As an agency owner and a brand owner that's very public, they need people that can speak about the product or speak about the use cases of the products that is valuable. It's an ad placement, right? It's genuine creator marketing. If I didn't have the audience, the ability to speak about it and cross pollination from agency brand to SaaS, my livelihood might have been in a different position from a cash flow standpoint. And so it's a crazy thing to even say is like that. If I didn't have anything built in before, life could have been much rougher than it was for the last year and a half.
Yeah, that's wild. Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Is it, would you do it the same way, knowing what you know now? Like if you were starting fresh today, Nick's fresh out of school again, would you say you got to become a face? If you're gonna run an agency, you got to become a face. I don't want to say that's like a golden rule, but like, would you do it again?
I think there's a graduation period. It's like they call it, it's like the circles of knowing you. And so like the first circle of knowing is like whatever you do, your mom's gonna love it the most. And then like the next thing you're gonna do is like your mom's cousin's gonna like it just as much or not. And like you get into these different layers of the onions. It's important for you to know. I think at the beginning when you're just starting out, you already have a built-in network, and somebody somewhere is going to have an appreciation for you or understand and be like, wait, I know a guy that I trust that I've known that does this thing. Let's go talk to him. So I do think there's a point of which you should leverage who you have and what you've made, and then you have to get out of it. What I would have done, and which is what I think is what we're doing now with Chase and myself, is we have many themed pages that is still our brain, our knowledge, and our creation, but it's not a Nick thing. It's not a Chase thing. It's like subscription for this, health business for that. Like, so we're able to kind of go theme and media that is less tied to a person. But man, I will say if you go on any of these platforms, Twitter or LinkedIn, and you speak from a ghostless profile, the reactions are very different. Like they just won't give you the same love or affection for that if it's a human.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had a very different thesis when we started Pilot House. We started D2C with Eric, who a mutual friend of ours, and we were intentionally we're like, none of us want to be a face. Let's just see if we can do this, and it's worked really well. Don't get me wrong, but in this new economy, it does feel, and what I mean, like creator economy, social economy, it feels different. You know, like we are the kind of, I wouldn't say faceless because Eric is the face, but there, you know, it's not the same as like Dave, CEO of Pilot House, being the face of Pilot House. So people come in not having that same relationship, which I think is good in some ways, in the sense they're not going to say, "Hey, I need to work with Dave," but bad in other ways, in the sense they're like, "Who the fuck is Dave?" You know. So it's been an interesting journey across the board, and we see.
But dude, the only person that can do it is the founder. Like if you elevate anybody, like this is what happened with comment thread. Like Taylor, this is a real conversation we had back in the day. He was like, "It's like, dude, are you doing this for Nick or are you doing this for comment thread?" I'm like, "Well, if I don't do it for Nick, it's not going to work for comment thread." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're doing it for Nick." And I go, "I guess I am. Like I have to. Like because I don't own it. But like I would love to be here and own it. But if you don't, dude, it's." If you elevate other employees, which is obviously important, necessary, and valuable, it builds leverage against the parent company that at some point, somewhere, like you're either going to have to pay up or you're going to have to make something incredible, which as they should, right? They're building a name, building a face, but it puts us in the ownership standpoint in a sticky situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've kind of been dabbling in that world. It's a tough spot. It's kind of the same as sending staff to trade shows and go do business for you. I mean, it's you know, it's in the way of them going out doing this thing, going meeting people. You know, the amount of brands these days saying, "Hey, just tell me what salary you want. Come work for us." Like the amount of poaching at these types of things is wild right now. And more than we've ever seen it, I would say. I think
For
that's just,
sure.
inherently a lot of brands going in house, a lot of brands doing that. But it's, yeah, it does make you, at least try to figure out how the hell do we position. Yeah, I don't want to like keep people in a cage hidden away from everybody. That's not a good way for their careers, for our business, for anything. But you do have to think through, what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot. I think about this a lot.
Yeah. What do you do about it?
You can't new money makes more money is like the thing that we'll throw into it is like you have an idea, you have an idea, you have a way of generating something that new. Let us be the first money in. Let us at least see if we can make this work within the business. If like her name is Rebecca, if you believe that Sigma is going to be a very important tool for structured and you're like, oh, I will do my things that I have to do and I want to push this forward, what does the investment need? Like run it as like an intro CEO, right? Like run it as an entrepreneur, like be and build within what we have. And then if it's something that's viable and you're like, yo, I want to go do this or run with it, do it. That's constant creative for us. Like that was at one point a very early, like, okay, we want designers, we want editors, and we want a briefing tool on the front end. Well, Jake had to build it, and then we found our incredible Canadian Jay, and Jay's like, dude, I got to go run this. And Jake's like, you're right, go. It's like that is new money that's going to be found that can generate and can support whatever this team or brand or business needs to be. And then you migrate the rest of the people over there for you. You see this with Zach Stuck at when he got out of Homestead, right? Like he got out of Homestead, but like the reason why it launched or the reason why it was working was like because he had a lot of the knowledge and he had Riley that could run Homestead, so he can go build out his brand portfolio at Easy Street. So it's like there is in Comment the same thing. They went and tried to build their own internal stuff with existing agency employees. So it will and can be fruitful if that employee has enthusiasm to go build. But if they don't, you're kind of just like fighting for like how nice can you make their life and how much money they can make.
Yeah, agreed. We've done that a few times as well. I completely agree with that. D2C came out of that. Eric worked for Pilot House, and Eric has a very sizable chunk of D2C, and we're partners in it, and that's where that grew from. We have a couple other sub businesses, same thing. Those were some of our top media buyers, et cetera. They wanted to do their own thing. We went with them. We provided the capital. They have some ownership, we have some ownership, and we make it work. It's a fun way to do it. It's a really fun way to do it. It's complicated because all your best people that you want doing the work always, the best people are the entrepreneurial people, which so you've got a limited lifespan with those people in their role in the agency. So when they switch over, it's hard, but I think it's important too. It's better to grow a bigger thing together than it is to kind of, keep a walled kingdom all the time.
You also know that like it's these careers are so non-linear. Like they weave in and out. Like I've told Taylor this before. Like I don't have to. Like I'm not unemployable. Like some people, like if you're an entrepreneur, like I'm unemployable. Like I could only work for myself. Like I don't believe that. Like if the mission's big enough, the goal is big enough, the opportunity is big enough. Like that's fine. Like I don't have to be Batman on this. I'll take Robin.
Yeah, totally. I just realized we're way over time. We got to do this again for one because this is a great conversation. What would looking forward into the next 5, 10 years, what advice would you give to people in the agency game, starting in the agency game? In terms of people owning the businesses, what would you tell them?
I think this is. I think this is the best time, and I cold heartedly believe this. And I'm at a different arc in my and we might have to do one more of these things, just like do a retrospect for whatever is potentially coming.
Yeah, I'd love
It's
that.
like if I was to redo it all over again, I would work with the smartest people I possibly could, and my spend in terms of hiring would go towards the infrastructure to build it out to support them. So I have less high quality people with the right amount of tools, and then like just the appropriate amount of humans to support them that is like able to check into it. But the agency space, I feel, is going to continue to stay fractured. I thought it was into a consolidation structure where it's like this one agency does email, paid, retention, content, CRO, and I think you're going to get back into a very commoditized split. This team is incredible at CRO, and here's the price point, and they integrate with this paid team. And so enough of these really small tools where before it was just too expensive to have 9 or 10 different agencies doing different things. I think we get to a place where the price makes sense, the skill set and knowledge makes sense, that there will be more than just one team or two teams working on growth or retention for a brand. So go. Like if
Yeah,
you guys like you and I, like in our team, like our structure of team, like our process of the team, it's harder for us to adapt major AI adoption and work with because we have old dogs with
100%.
us already.
100%. We're ancient, man. It's tough when you got a lot of people to make any major moves quickly. It's crazy. It does feel like holy shit. When did I start driving a tanker boat instead of a cigarette boat? You know, like it's crazy how
Yeah,
fast that happens. Um,
I appreciate you, Jeff. Thanks for the chance, buddy.
Likewise, Nick. That was a lot of fun. We'd definitely love to do this again, and we'll chat soon.
Yes, sir. Take care, buddy.